Hi there, Mr. Evans with a video on redeployment and redundancy. So it is this last little bit of this section on human resource flow here. So we've looked at recruitment, we've looked at we get staff in, we train them, develop them, appraisal and progression I haven't covered because they're not listed on the spec, but it is worth knowing about appraisals. And now we're looking at potentially redeploying staff. That would come in this internal bit here, but sometimes staff will have to leave, maybe through redundancy. So redeployment occurs when members of the workforce are moved from one role to another within the organisation. So someone is retained within the same organisation, but they move from one job to another. So that can happen for a number of reasons. It may happen when, for example, a branch is closed, so you close down an entire branch. If it's a supermarket, you've got a bunch of people who have skills that are useful to you, like stacking shelves and operating the checkout and customer service skills and so on, and you just move those workers from the branch that's closed down and you redeploy them in another branch. It might occur if one unit or function has more employees than they need and the other area has a shortage. So say you've got an excess of people in marketing and you can move them over to finance. That might be a good way of solving any problems in the finance department. It might occur when greater returns can be earned by undertaking a different activity. So, for example, within Apple, say a few years ago, they probably made the decision that they were earning more money from iPhones than iPods. So, staff would have been redeployed from making and marketing iPods to making and marketing iPhones or iPads or whatever it was. Or simply a worker is retrained with new skills and it's believed they can be more productive elsewhere. So the advantages of redeployment, so instead of getting rid of staff like with the branch closure, we retain those workers' skills and experience within the organisation. These are valuable people to us, we want to keep them and we're able to do that. It might increase labour productivity if we move them from, say producing iPods, which are in low demand, the workers don't need to do that much, to producing something that's in high demand, so they'll be working a lot harder, so it would increase labour productivity, and it would help employees feel secure in their jobs if they know the organisation isn't going to just move them on, but will try and find them a new role. So you can link that to Maslow. However, there may be training requirements and it might break up existing teams who work together really well and, personal relationships and all of that kind of thing. So unfortunately, sometimes there are situations in business where staff can't be redeployed and people need to leave the business, which is effectively what redundancy is. It occurs when an employee loses their job because their role no longer exists. Now, this is quite an important definition. You'll notice that they're losing their job not because they're incompetent or because they've done something wrong, but because the role no longer exists. So what's the typical process for going about a redundancy? Well, first of all, there might be a restructure. So the business is restructured and jobs are identified that can be kind of merged, or maybe an entire division goes because they're no longer necessary. Well, the first thing is that there's a legal obligation for management to investigate and offer redeployment. But if that's not possible, they may start off by offering voluntary redundancies. Okay, so this team is currently 10 people. We've redesigned it so there's only 4 in the team. Does anyone want to leave? We'll offer voluntary redundancy. Or maybe alternative working practices, so offering, we could make a couple of people redundant, or some of you might choose to go part-time, blah blah blah. or work 4 days a week, something like that. But so we'd do the restructure, we'd look at perhaps alternative ways of redeploying the staff. If that's not possible, we'll offer voluntary redundancies or alternative ways of working to the team. If that doesn't happen, then maybe compulsory redundancies will be inevitable, and people receive a redundancy package. So the advantages of going through the process of making workers redundant, well, to businesses it's going to reduce their wage costs, and it might increase labour productivity. If we're shutting down a functional area or a department that's, product that's not really very popular, then and we're focusing our resources on those products that are popular, those remaining members of staff might be much more productive. However, there could be a really bad impact on morale of the remaining staff. If their friends and colleagues are leaving, that has a bad effect on the people who are leaving, but also the people who are left behind. It can also create a lot of negative publicity for a business. The press don't like people being made redundant, and consumers don't necessarily like it either, so it can have a negative impact on a business's publicity.